At that he began to curse and swear.
I do not know the man.
And immediately a cock crowed. Then Peter remembered the words that Jesus had spoken. Before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times. He went out and began to weep bitterly. When it was morning, all the chief priests and the elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. They bound him, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate, the governor. Then Judas, his betrayer, seeing that Jesus had been condemned, deeply regretted what he had done. He returned the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and the elders, saying,
I have sinned in betraying innocent blood.
They said,
What is that to us? See to it yourself.
Fleeing the money into the temple, he departed and went off and hanged himself. The chief priest gathered up the money but said,
It is not lawful to deposit this in the temple treasury, for it is the price of blood.
After consultation, they used it to buy a potter's field as a burial place for foreigners. That is why that field even to this day is called the Field of Blood. Then was fulfilled what had been said through Jeremiah the prophet. And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the value of a man with a price in his head, a price set by some for the Israelites, and they paid it out for the potter's field, just as the Lord had commanded me. Now Jesus stood before the governor, and he questioned him.
Are you not king of the Jews?
Jesus said,
You say so.
and when he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he made no answer. Then Pilate said to him,
Do you not hear how many things they are testifying against you?
but he did not answer him one word, so that the governor was greatly amazed. Now on the occasion of the feast of the governor was accustomed to releasing to the crowd one prisoner whom they wished. And at that time they had a notorious prisoner called Barabbas. So when they had assembled, Pilate asked them,
Which one do you want me to release to you? Barabbas or Jesus called Christ?
for he knew that it was out of envy that they had handed him over. While he was still seated on the bench, his wife sent him a message.
Have nothing to do with that righteous man. I suffered much in a dream today because of him.
The chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to destroy Jesus. The governor said to them in reply,
Which of the 2 do you want me to release to you?
They answered.
Barabbas.
Pilate said to them,
Then what do I do with Jesus called Christ?
They all said.
Let him be crucified.
But he said,
Why? What evil has he done?
They only shouted the louder.
Let him be crucified.
When Pilate saw that he was not succeeding at all, but that a riot was breaking out instead, He took water and washed his hands in the sight of the crowd, saying,
I am innocent of this man's blood. Look to it yourselves.
And the whole people said in reply,
His blood be upon us and upon our children.
Then he released Barabbas to them, but after he had Jesus scourged, he handed him over to be crucified. When the soldiers of the governor took Jesus inside the praetorium and gathered the whole cohort around him, they stripped off his clothes and threw a scarlet military cloak about him. Weaving a crown of thorns, they placed it on his head and a reed in his hand. And kneeling before him, they mocked him, saying,
Hail, King of the Jews!
They spat upon him and took the reed and kept striking him on the head. And when they had mocked him, they stripped him of the cloak, dressed him in his own clothes, and led him off to be crucified. As they were going out, they met a Cyrenian named Simon. This man they pressed into service to carry his cross. Please stand as you are able. And when they came to the place called Golgotha, which means place of the skull, they gave Jesus wine to drink mixed with gall. But when he had tasted it, he refused to drink. After they had crucified him, they divided his garments by casting lots. Then they sat down and kept watch over there. And they placed over his head a written charge against him. This is Jesus, King of the Jews. Two revolutionaries were crucified with him, one at his right and the other at his left. Those passing by reviled him, shaking their heads and saying,
You would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. Save yourself. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross.
Likewise, the chief priests with the scribes and elders mocked him and said,
He saved others, he cannot save himself. So he is the King of Israel. Let him come down from the cross now, and we will believe in him. He trusted in God. Let him deliver him now, if he wants him. For he said, I am the Son of God.
The revolutionaries who were crucified with him also kept abusing him in the same way. From noon onward, dark came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon. And about 3 o'clock, Jesus said in a loud voice,
Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani,
which means,
my God, why have you forsaken me?
some of the bystanders who heard it said,
This one is calling for Elijah.
Immediately one of them ran to get a sponge. He soaked it in wine and putting it on a reed, gave it to him to drink. But the rest said,
Wait, let us see if Elijah comes to save him.
But Jesus cried out again in a loud voice and gave up his spirit. Please kneel as you are able. mother of the sons of Zebedee. When it was evening, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who was also with him as one of his disciples. He came to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate ordered it to be handed over. Taking the body, Jesus wrapped it in a clean linen and laid it in his new tomb that had been hewn in rock. Then he rolled a huge stone across the entrance to the tomb and departed. But Mary Magdalene, along with the other Mary, remained seated there, facing the tomb. The next day, the one following the day of preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered before Pilate and said,
Sir, we remember that this impostor, while he was still alive, after 3 days I will be raised up. Give orders then that the grave be secured until the 3rd day, lest his disciples come and steal him and say to the people, he has been raised from the dead. This last imposture would be worse than the first.
Pilate said to them,
The guard is yours. Go secure it as best you can.
so they went and secured the tomb by fixing the seal to the stone and setting guard.
Would you be seated now, please, for a few moments?